Hello YouTubers, my name is X Factor. This is Golmud Railway Rush Assaulters, where it's been rebalanced. The attackers now have 3 tanks, but this map is still a little bit wonky due to several of the borders. And before we get too far into this, let's start this off with a daily lesson in math. Class, let's feast our eyes upon the mini-map. And what do you see there? Oh, little Jimmy, you have an answer for us?
Mr. X Factor, that would 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 8.
Little Jimmy, that is correct. That is 8 squad members.
But how'd you do that?
It is a secret. It happens from time to time to full squads, and it has to do with how people join off of you. It's more common than you really think. Now, does this help you? Kinda. It's nice to have 7 guys that can spawn bomb on you if you get deep within enemy lines, and not to mention the squad perks. Or if I'm the squad leader like I am now, if we were playing something like Obliteration or Conquest, the points would simply come rolling in. Not to mention the perks. It's hard to lose your squad perks. It's hard to wipe if you're rolling 8 dudes deep, especially on a map like this. So let's talk about some armor play. There's going to be some infantry play at the end. But let's talk about armor play. I've spoken about this before. Tanking has changed drastically in Battlefield 4. Tanks have traction, a ton of traction. They don't spin out as much. They don't do the sliding thing, the drifting thing as much. It can still happen. But let's talk about 2 major issues that tanks have now. And 1, how to deal with the major one. And 2, another one of the issues which we can't really deal with. Let's talk about holes in the ground, bumps. Jittery tank driving. There's nothing you can do. So when you start hitting these bumps and these big divots in the ground, so let's say somebody puts down a couple slams and a Jeep hits it or a tank runs under it, runs over it, there's a hole that's halfway to China, and there's nothing you can do. So try to avoid those like the plague, and some spots get worse than others, especially on a conquest map or a rush map where you're closer to the MCOMs and the defenders are actually repelling the attack. The area just gets beaten to a pulp. Golmud Railway, A, B, and C on Conquest, that whole triangle is an absolute nightmare. So if you get there early, it's not too bad to tank. When you hit these bumps, sometimes it takes away your up angle that you need to shoot at another piece of armor. Sometimes it throws your aim off, and it's not a good situation. I've got somebody behind me, lo and behold, it's a tank, and there's not so much a bump, but an actual feature that saved my life right then and there. I knew he was behind me, lost track of him, and there we go. Using the HE and the HMG. So I'm going to hit this guy like a truck when I actually do hit him. And that's the good thing about the HE. The bad thing about the HE is that it's really hard to hit things on the move downrange. So let's talk about something else that got changed with this latest patch. Javelins have been buffed. They lock on very quickly, and they do a minimum of 35 damage. As I'm getting bombarded by multiple engineers from elevation with looks like what is a law and then a small. The good news is somebody's repping me from my squad. The bad news is my APS was down, but APS Active Protective System will now block laws. It blocks pretty much everything. Roll up on another tank. I see he's engaged with another tank, so try to kill his repair team. If he's got double reps, he might be able to take on that tank. And look at that. There's one of those holes we're talking about. Field's all browned out. There's 2 or 3 of them. On Gulf of Oman, there are certain holes that the LAVs literally get stuck in. The tanks get stuck in. You literally have to ram them. And there's a nice straw shot. So what do we do to combat these Javelin users? Number 1, you need to stay by cover or be able to get to cover. And cover just isn't a building. It's elevation changes. Because to beat the Javelin, you simply have to break the lock or kill the guy. So let's go over what a Javelin user needs to be able to get his shot off and on target. Number 1, he needs line of sight. Number 2, he needs to acquire the lock. Number 3, he needs to keep line of sight to keep his lock. And he has to hold it till that missile hits. So something as simple as changing elevation right here. If that throws off his aim, the Javelin user at all, that lock is gone. You can also shade on other vehicles. So if there's a tank right next to me, an AMRAP, something, an LAV, I can get really close. I can drive behind him. I can use vehicles to break that lock because the chance of him aiming and keeping that lock at the very top of my turret, assuming that he's got some elevation, is slim to none. I've done that many a times and it works out very well. The last thing you want to do is panic back up, stay stagnant, stay in an open field. If you get hit by one Javelin, 35 damage minimum, try to get to cover. Don't just stop and repair right there because another one's coming, and then you give everybody else the opportunity that has something to spam at you to take you down. One Javelin isn't a big deal. Stopping while another Javelin is on the way is really going to mess you up. It's also going to mess up your repair team, which I have right now. These guys are helping me out because Golmud Railway Rush, I haven't played a lot of it. It's definitely been changed with the 3 tanks assaulting. So the flanks are everything. I'm just trying to figure out where their armor is it being pinched, and can I move up, and will there be covered? Whenever you're playing as infantry or a piece of armor, you've got to think a couple steps ahead. Okay, I got these couple kills. Now I want to move up, but you need to kind of have a spot planned out. If not, you're going to have a bad time. You're just going to get blown up. You're not going to have cover. So here's a perfect example. I'm in the middle of a field. The rock to the right isn't going to save me. The rock to the left might save me if I drive to the left. But look at all the dots on the minimap to the right-hand side. No matter what I do, somebody's going to have an angle on my tank. And this is where we get into trouble. Try to keep the wide guys in. Try to keep them funneled in. And that's the key to any rush map. Don't let the defenders slip out. If you do, then you've got to be worrying about being shot in the back or shot in the side. Keep the pressure on them. Keep them set up in that crossfire. And I don't usually do this, but these buildings offer so much cover. I'm trying to shell them right now. And right there was where I get out of the tank. We got disabled, and then we got C4'd. So moving up as engineer now, trying to work this BM comm on the second set. So next time you see the Javelin lock, see if you can kill the guy first. Maybe you're in the middle of a field. Maybe he's just staring at you, asking for some bullets to the face. Return him that favor. Do him that honor. Then see if you can rub off the lock. Are you by cover? Can you quickly get to cover? And there goes a potential Javelin right there. So next time you guys are playing in a piece of armor, know that knocking off a Javelin lock isn't as hard as you might think it is. It's usually a tree, a piece of armor, or just a little cover away. Don't panic. If you simply back up, stay there, get disabled, then you're in real trouble. If you're disabled, it's usually game over. So they're trying to save the MCOM. I pull up the Scar H, which is not very good with the hip fire, and try to do my best. Save that, it goes off, and then the third set of MCOMs is an absolute slaughter for the defenders. They've got a couple walls, they've got a couple houses, but when you're playing 64-man Zerg style, whether you're on current gen console or PC, there's not a lot the defenders can do. So if it gets to this point, it's game over. Probably about 120% of the time. The Horde attacks, knocks down the wall, they get the MCOMs, and then the defenders are stuck spawning up on their couple pieces of rock. And in true traditional fashion, I try to clear out the backfield before I start moving up. Because the last thing you want is to start moving up and get eliminated and squad wiped in rush. It's the worst. As always, YouTubers, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the footage.